Well, today I'm going to show you some great products from a company called Resin Pro. Now, I carved these a little while ago when I was trying out some carving using some basswood, a little man and a candle. And I want to cast them so I can make them out of resin or plaster or any of those other things. I've also got some stones that I polished a long time ago, and I want to make those into some pendants, so I want to make a mould with those, along with the limpets, a snail shell that I found in the garden, that minus its snail, so the bird has obviously eaten the snail, and another little seashell. I want these moulds to be glossy when they're finished. Then you need to have a glossy item to start with. I varnished these. I varnished the snail shell. I need to create a little pot. All I've got is a bit of acetate here and my shell. And what I'll do is fill the bottom of that piece of shell there with some hot glue, and then stick that in the middle there. And then all I need to do is make a circle of this acetate that will go around there. I don't want to use up too much and make this a real thick mould. I want it to be sturdy enough, so that piece there should be enough. Tape it up so it sticks, it stays in position, because if not, it will just bing open. What I do is I pop it over the snail like that, and then I hot glue around it to stick that onto there, and then let that dry, and then that is ready to pour the silicone. The other thing I do is once that glue is dry, I then go on here and mark on here how far up I want my silicone to be, because then I can pour up to that, because again, there's no point wasting it. I will give them a quick spray inside of mould release. That'll really help get these out once this silicone is cured. The first one I'm going to be using is the IGUM by Resin Pro. It is brilliant. It's so easy to use. I'm going to do it on a piece of acetate. Don't do it directly onto your silicone mat. And all you need to do for this one is take out how much you need from each one. But you do need to weigh it, and you don't need to wear gloves with this as well. Apparently it's completely non-toxic. So I've got 70 grams of that one, which is the part A, and then I also need 70 grams of the part B, so that's 140 grams of that one, and there's still loads left in there. And then all you need to do is blend these together until you've got one completely homogeneous colour. It's got no smell to it whatsoever. Once you're happy that you've got no streaks or anything, whatever you're casting onto, then lay this on that. Now, I'm going to put my bits quite close together. I've done quite a large bit here because I want these, some of these are going to be quite deep. Flatten that out as much as possible and make it as neat as possible, because you want it to be neat. And now the first ones I'm going to put in are my stones, and I've decided I want that one to go that way round, so I'm going to push that in there. Now you can do these fairly close together, because that way you're going to use a lot less of the product. Believe me, it pushes in really lovely and easily. Leave this for about 25 minutes to cure up, and then while that's curing up, I can pour the other one. The second method I'm going to be using is using the liquid mould. This is a very different type of moulding liquid. This is more designed for taller, larger moulds, and this is mixed up in a ratio of 100 to 5. So if you've got 100 grams of part A, you only use 5 grams of part B for it. And I am going to be using gloves while doing this. The other thing that's really important with any of these types of molds is give it a really good stir first. That's the part A that comes in the pot, because there might be ingredients that settle down into the bottom. Make sure that you picked up all those ingredients. And the same for the part B. Give that a really good shake before you measure it out. Because it's a nice slow curing product, it's going to take about 24 hours to fully cure. Then what you'll get is a far fewer bubble contamination in it as well, because it's got time to allow those bubbles to come up to the top. I've got 120 grams in there, and I need 6 grams of the catalyst, which is part B. And to make sure I'm really exact with this, I'm going to use a pipette to put this in. And now I'm going to mix this in, making sure again I scrape all the sides and the bottom as well while I'm mixing. But you do want to make sure that you've got this thoroughly mixed, and if you don't scrape the sides, and that you're going to have bits in there that aren't mixed. And then once it's mixed, you can then pour this into your mold. My advice would be pour slowly. pour around it as well so that it gets everywhere. And then once you've got a little bit in there like this, I would wait a couple of seconds to ensure that that has gone all the way down to the bottom. And then once you're happy that you've got it all the way down to the bottom, then you can fill it up. And once that's filled up, it needs to be kept warm. Don't leave it overnight outside in the cold, because that's going to slow its curing down. And leave that then to fully cure for about 24 hours, when it should be safe then and ready to demold. Now this last mold I'm going to make, I'm going to use the Resin Pro's Pure Mold. This is a 1-to-1 cut molding liquid. It's so easy to use. I'm going to be making these rocks. Now I made these about 4 or 5 years ago. I think I did a video on them. But the mold I used for this now is past it. I've used it so many times. So they're going to fit in that casting box exactly the same way as I made the previous casting boxes. Now how I'm going to hold these down to the bottom is with double-sided sticky tape. I love this stuff. It works so well. Once I've taken the backing off, now that isn't going to go anywhere, and I've stuck it down nice and firm, pushing from both the top and the bottom, and that's ready to pour the silicone into there. So you need to measure equal parts of the A and B for this. Make sure that you give it a really good stir and shake first as well, because you want to make sure that you get everything that's settled during transport and things like that. Give it a really good mix to ensure that everything is well mixed in, because you want to make sure that A and B is really well mixed in. Also keep scraping those sides and scrape the bottom as well, so you don't get any silicone that is not mixed up. Pour this in slowly over your item, and the reason you pour it in slowly is because that way you ensure you get everything nicely covered. I'm going to give that a little bit of a tap like that all the way through. Those bubbles will start to release, and then I'm going to leave that to cure up for 24 hours. Well, this is all cured up now. I left this for about 30 minutes actually, rather than 25 minutes, purely because I was busy doing something else. But it's nice and flexible and well cured up. The piece of acetate just comes straight off the back. Now to get these out, all I'm going to do is loosen them like that, and then we've got the image in there. Oh, look at that. How easy is that to make the mould? Oh, I'm loving how these stones have come out. And they have left a lovely glossy finish under there. I can see it. And these little limpet shells. There'll be quite a lot of detail in there when we come to casting that. Well, these moulds should be all cured now. It's just slightly less than 24 hours, and they'll be really easy to get out. So now they're ready to come out of this mould, and all I need to do is gently pull them around. And if any of the silicone has gone underneath, that won't matter too much, because that should just be really thin and pull off. We've got a perfect impression there. Great thing about this mould solution is it is very translucent, so it's great for UV resin as well. And we've got a perfect mould. So these molds are slightly different. Pull that off, and then pull the mold off the end like that. And this is the snail one. And as we can see, a little bit has gone under there. Now, I don't want to get rid of too much of that. I'm going to cut it round like that. And then it should allow me just to pull that snail out of there, and it will have cast that snail shell lovely. Now, candle one is going to be a little bit more different due to the shape of the candle. Let's get that off. But look, can you see that has given us there? Now, this is quite a flexible type of silicone. Again, that's that one out and all nice and cured, ready to cast into. See, it's so easy to make your own molds from things that you've made as well. Bespoke molds are so expensive to buy. And again, if we release this nice and easily, he should just pop out of there. We should be able to bend this down, and we should have a perfect cast now of them. And I'm going to show you what they look like and how well they cast using a polyurethane resin rather than an epoxy resin. So I'm ready to cast these, and I'm going to use two different types of casting polyurethane resin by Resin Pro. The first one is called ITHITE and the other one is called Polyform. Now, there are some really important things that you must consider when you're using a PU resin, and one is it doesn't work well with humid conditions. It certainly doesn't enjoy having anything water-based in it at all or near it, and it will froth up and it will cause problems with the curing. You've got to be extremely accurate with the amount that you're using. Now for this one, you need, for every 100 grams of part A, you need 110 grams of part B, and that's easy to work out. So for instance, I'm putting in there 50 grams. All I need to do is times 50 by 1.1, so that will give me 55 grams of part B. The other thing is, this will be ready to demold within about 30 minutes. So you don't get a very long pot time with this. So don't spend too long mixing this. It's quite thin, so mix it slowly but thoroughly for about 1 minute. And as you can see, I've already prepared my mold for this one using some different powders to brush onto this mold, which is what I want it to achieve. Now you can color this with pigments, but make sure that you get polyurethane pigments and glitter that is suitable for polyurethane, because some pigments won't work with it. Mica powder does work with polyurethane really well. So that's mixed up enough now, and I'm ready to pour this in, and look how thin this is. It does work exceptionally well in a pressure pot, because if there is any bubbles because it's thin, then those bubbles will be removed. And definitely don't be tempted to use a torch with this either. If you've got any bubbles that have come up, then very briefly go over it with a long neck lighter. Get rid of those and then leave that to cure. The most it's going to take 30 minutes to cure. So can you see how this has already started to go white? And that is because it is starting to cure. Now the exothermic reaction is happening, and we will definitely be able to remove that all within the next 20 minutes. I've got my polyform mixed up now. I only needed 1 minute of mixing. I'm putting a bit in my candle there. I'm giving it a bit of squidgy widgy to make sure I've got it down in that wick, and then I'm going to fill that mold right up. And I'm going to do exactly the same for the other two molds as well, the snail, shell, and the person. And then I'll explain why I would use the polyform, why I would use the eye white. So I've got my mica powders mixed up now in the eye white. I am so messy today. I don't know what's going on with me. And I'm chucking those in randomly into these rocks. Honestly, this will be cured before you know it. Well, these have all cured now, and they are no longer warm, because what you'll find is once they're cured, the exothermic reaction stops and they are then cool right down again. So let's have a look at these ones. These are the ones that I did with brushing the mica on, and they've come out really pretty. The reason I would use the eye white is it's more suitable for the crafter, definitely. And I would use this for things like phone stands, all those sorts of things that people have had problem warping with, or those reindeer with the big antlers that come out. They would also warp with epoxy, but they're not likely to warp with PU resin. And look how beautiful those rocks have come out as well. Nice and glossy. That mold is amazing and really awesome. And the little bits as well. Very pretty. Takes on the mica powder and other powders that you're going to use so easily. These are the ones that I did using the polyform, not the eye white. Look how good all the details that has given on there. And again, for the candle, the carved candle has come out really well. You could even see all the little carve marks in there, which is exactly what I wanted to do, and that will have cured exceptionally hard. And the snail shell has come out exceptionally well as well. You can see all the little ridges around it, all the details and everything. And the reason I would use polyform is exceptionally hard, takes on all the little tiny details with hardly any bubbles. Like there is no bubbles in that whatsoever, and it gives you a great blank to use for making more molds or for making little figures as well with. I love this. I love how that's come out. The little old man with all his little details. He's a cute man. And the mica powder has mixed in there really, really well. And I like how those rocks have come out. They'll make some great landscapes somewhere. I will link everything that I've used in the description below as well. I do believe the moulding stuff is available in the USA already, and I believe the PU resins are going to be available in the USA very, very soon, but I'll link them anyway. They are available in the UK and the rest of Europe without any problems whatsoever. Don't forget, boot the like button. Really does help my videos to get out there. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already subscribed, and that way you're not going to miss out on all the other tutorials and tricks and hints and all that I do and experiments. Take care, enjoy your resin, bye.